Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How's everyone doing? It's so wonderful to see you all here. Welcome to Vancouver. Bienvenue à tous. Nous sommes très heureux que vous êtes ici. Welcome to Coast Salish First Nations territory, the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And a big thanks to Stuart for getting us started with that blessing, which is our commitment here now in recognizing the territory that we are on, and those generous enough to welcoming us here. It is a great honor to be hosting the national conference. We are thrilled to have you all here in Vancouver. It's a very big priority for us. Thank you to Tim and the whole team for choosing Vancouver and honoring us all with your presence and being able to raise the dialogue here in Vancouver and on the West Coast here in BC about the importance of ending homelessness. It has been a very important piece for us here on the West Coast, something we've been working very hard at over the last half dozen years, and big credit to all of you for the work that you do across our country to tackle homelessness. This is such crucial work. I hear it so often from fellow mayors across the country, whether we meet as big city mayors or less formally. This is a huge issue for cities across Canada, communities across Canada, and the work that you're doing to focus on the solutions and to help people who are most vulnerable in our communities is absolutely essential. And your vision to ensure we're consistently driving towards ending homelessness, making sure everyone has a place to live, is really incredible service to our communities, to our cities, to our country. So a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart and everyone I work with here. You're part of our inspiration for carrying this work forward. So we have a real challenge still ahead of us here in Vancouver. I absolutely love Vancouver. It's an incredible city. I believe in this city. We have so much to be proud of here. We have a thriving economy, a very beautiful place to live. We're blessed with a very multicultural city, one of the most multicultural cities in the world now. And we're enjoying good times on so many levels. But we have our challenges, and homelessness is a big one for us. And I believe that at our city's core, that a city is prosperous and compassionate as Vancouver should never have people forced to sleep outside. That has to be something we solve. And it is one of the major reasons that I got involved in politics. I certainly to become mayor of Vancouver. 6 years ago, I was serving as an MLA prior to running for mayor and serving with City Hall in the middle of my riding. And we had a horrific death close to City Hall in my riding, a man named Daryl McCasco. And it's a story that I tell often as a reminder of what we've been through. Daryl and his partner Pam caught on fire trying to keep themselves warm on a very cold night about this time of year. 7 years ago, Daryl died, burned to death. Pam survived, but with terrible burns. And it wasn't just the fact that this horrific incident happened, but it was the reaction to it, or the lack of reaction to it, that was what propelled me to run for mayor. There were so few voices raised, concerned about what had happened, concerned that it happened just blocks from City Hall, and that Daryl and Pam had no shelter to get into. The shelters were full. So it became an immediate priority for me to become mayor, to open up emergency shelters in the winter, and make sure there was capacity to get people in. That was the first big action that we took as I became mayor. And it's been a long haul since then. We've had a very significant relationship with the province of BC, a partnership to build supportive housing across Vancouver, which has been very successful. We can always quicken the pace. We can always see more investment, more buildings and shelters open to ensure we have the capacity. And that's something that we need to keep striving for, because the stories like Daryl's and others who have fallen into tragedy in our streets remind us of what's at stake. It's actually fairly modest actions that can have dramatic benefits, saving lives, turning people's lives around. And that's why this conference is so important, because we're all striving for this goal to end homelessness, and to simply state flat out that we can't get there, that somehow we shouldn't have a big, bold goal, is not acceptable. To say that we'll just throw our hands up and let the market figure it out is not acceptable. We have to have a clear leadership goal that we strive toward, and as a society we can and must do better. And I know you recognize that in this room. The good news is that I think that is taking root in cities across the country. I think increasingly provincial and federal governments are paying attention to this and understanding that we're not that far off achieving as a country getting everyone inside, but there are still far too many people living rough and suffering the consequences from that. So this week is about sharing stories, sharing what's working and what's not, learning from communities, from cities all over the place who have had success, and then trying to carry that forward wherever we are doing our work. And we are seeing success here in Vancouver. We can take real pride in the work that we've done to tackle homelessness first and foremost. We've learned lots of lessons over the past 6 years with the initiatives we've drawn from many other cities as well. Our basic commitment here for these 6 years is to focus first and foremost on solving street homelessness and just making sure no one's stuck outside. And if you were noticing the rain that happens here last night, we have a different challenge to most of the cities across the country. When the winter kicks in, you have as much chance of drowning to death as you do anything else. And last night was proof of that. We have real challenges with that combination of cold and wet here. That is, when it's cold in Vancouver and wet, people say it can be worse than the coldest days on the prairie, where it's a drier cold. But it is an extraordinarily difficult place to make a go of it in the winter outside. It is not a comfortable place to live a winter outside. And our basic commitment has been to focus on street homelessness, make sure there's capacity in the shelters and housing system for everyone to get inside. And I'm pleased to share, we've done yet another tally to figure out exactly how many people have moved from our streets and shelters into permanent housing. And this is the partnership that we've had in place for these last 5 years. We now have over 1,400 people who've moved from the street and shelters into permanent housing since 2009. So a significant number of people who have been supported. We have done that by building affordable housing, by building supportive housing, by opening interim housing to bridge the gap between shelters and permanent housing getting built. We have launched Vancouver's first rent bank, which has made a real difference in stabilizing many families, hundreds of families who were at risk of becoming homelessness. And I've never shied away from making it very clear what I stand for, and that I will not back down or apologize for making big, challenging goals to help our most vulnerable in Vancouver. And I know that none of you will too in your communities. And it's fundamentally a question of what kind of city we want to become, a city of compassion, empathy, and opportunity that is looking out for everyone, making sure our most vulnerable are taken care of. And we have to stay on that track. That is our goal here in Vancouver. Some of you may be aware that we have an election here in Vancouver. Actually, the polls opened less than an hour ago. Our advanced voting started, and I'm not going to be making an election pitch to you because most of you don't live and vote in Vancouver. If you do, we can talk after. I'd be happy to chat. But I will say that homelessness has routinely become an issue in these last two elections. It's been an important priority for me as mayor, and that's obviously stirred up lots of dialogue, lots of conversation about how we're doing, how many people are still outside, how we're going to solve this, how we strengthen the partnerships with the province and the federal government, how all levels of government and everyone in the community step up together to achieve that broad goal, which is never easy to get everyone on the same page and fully committed, but we're making progress towards that, and that's what I'm pleased with, and we have to relentlessly stay focused on achieving that goal. We may not always hit the exact milestones that we seek, but we have to stay focused on that bigger goal and do everything that we can to achieve it. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done towards that and solving this challenge. I firmly believe we are on the right path, and it's really guided by that fundamental belief that we need to choose tackling homelessness and solving it rather than tolerating hopelessness, and that we can always do better. We can always move forward on this. So a big thank you. A big, huge thank you to all of you for the work that you're doing. I hope this week is incredibly powerful, and we see real gains made in what everyone can take forward in their communities and advance, and that we continue to see the level of dialogue, the engagement, and the awareness around the absolute essential next steps that we need to take to solve homelessness across Canada really take root and bear fruit from here. So thanks for all the work that you do. Have a great time in Vancouver. We're really thrilled to have you here, and thanks to the Minister for joining us as well. We look forward to strengthening that partnership. Thank you very much, and have a great time.